are days when everything seems fine on the surface. You've eaten, you've replied to messages, you've crossed things off your list, and yet something still aches. You can't quite name it. It's not exhaustion, it's not sadness, it's something deeper. A kind of quiet emptiness, a hollowness that no screen, no food, no conversation can truly fill. That feeling isn't a problem to fix. It's a signal, a message from your soul, not crying out for more, but for something real. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "People try to get away from it all, to the country, to the beach, to the mountains. You always wish that you could too, but you can get away from it anytime you like. By going within, that ache you're feeling right now, it's not asking you to do more, it's asking you to come home. To return, not to your checklist, but to yourself. To remember what your soul is quietly craving beneath all the pressure and performance. Not more success, not more stimulation, but stillness, direction, purpose, integrity, not escape, but something to endure for, something to stand for, something worth walking through discomfort for again and again. The Stoics never promised comfort. They offered clarity. They showed us that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just quietly refuses to break. And sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is pause long enough to ask, what is my soul really hungry for? This video is not about answers. It's about remembering that your soul doesn't want everything. It wants something true. It wants the fire of discipline, the peace of silence, the clarity of values, the weight of purpose. So if you've felt lost or scattered or strangely tired even after rest, this might be why. Your soul is not broken, it's just waiting. And today, we listen. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Your soul craves stillness, not stimulation. You wake up and check your phone before your feet even touch the floor. The flood of notifications, headlines, reminders, it begins. And before you've taken a single breath with intention, your mind is already sprinting. You weren't made to live like this. Not at this pace. Not in this noise. Your soul wasn't designed to be fed by constant stimulation. It longs for stillness. Not the absence of movement, but the presence of clarity, the quiet, grounded space where your inner voice can actually be heard. Marcus Aurelius once said, "People look for retreats for themselves, in the country, by the sea, in the mountains. But nowhere can a person find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in their own mind, so long as it is calm." And that's what's missing, isn't it? Not more things to do, but a space inside yourself that feels calm, undisturbed, real. You don't need more scrolling, more noise, more opinions. What you need is space to return, space to see. Stillness is where strength begins, because in stillness you stop reacting and start observing. You begin to notice what actually matters, not what flashes across your feed. You begin to notice what your body is holding, what your heart is carrying, and maybe for the first time in a long time, you're able to ask, what am I actually feeling, and what do I really need? The Stoics didn't run from the world. They engaged it with intention. They knew that without inner stillness, the world would always control their direction. Stillness is not laziness. It's not escape. It's awareness. It's choosing to pause before you answer, to breathe before you act, to reflect before you react. In stillness, clarity arrives. Think of how water settles in a glass when left untouched. It becomes clear. You can see through it. But shake it constantly, and all you get is murkiness, confusion. That's what stimulation does to your soul. It clouds your ability to see yourself. You've probably noticed it. That anxious restlessness when you've had a full day but nothing felt meaningful. That sense of inner clutter, like your attention has been shattered into too many pieces. That's not weakness. That's your soul reminding you, I need something different. Stillness is the answer the noise can never give. When you begin to protect moments of silence, something in you begins to soften. You start to return to your breath. You begin to feel what you've been running from. And slowly, gently, you begin to come home to yourself. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations for the world. He wrote them in stillness, for himself. Quietly, before the noise of ruling an empire took over his day. That's how the most powerful man in the world found peace, not through power, but through inner pause. So if your soul feels loud, scattered, weary, it might not be because you're doing too little. It might be because you've forgotten how to be still. Start small, a few minutes without the screen, a deep breath before your first decision of the day. A slow walk without needing to be productive. These are not small acts. These are acts of reclamation. In stillness, you'll remember what matters. In stillness, you'll find the strength that doesn't shout, but endures. And in that quiet, you may just hear your soul whisper, "Thank you. I've been waiting." Let that be the place you begin again, not in urgency, but in stillness, where the soul can breathe. Chapter 2. Your soul craves purpose, not performance. You were not born to perform. You were not put here to constantly impress, to seek applause, to chase after validation like it's oxygen. Yet somehow, that's what the world teaches you, to be visible, to be efficient, to be successful by someone else's standards. And somewhere along the way, your soul begins to ache, not from doing too little, but from doing too much that doesn't mean enough. You're showing up, yes, but are you showing up for the right things? Marcus Aurelius said, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being, not as a performer. Not as a product, but as a human with a reason to rise. Purpose is not a show. It's a direction. It's the compass that quietly tells you, this is worth it. This is who you are becoming." And the truth is, your soul doesn't want more recognition. It wants meaning. It wants to endure something hard because it matters, not because it will make you look good, but because it will make you true. Performance exhausts. Purpose renews. You've probably felt the difference. When you're chasing metrics, chasing perception, every win feels empty. There's always another ladder, another post, another box to check, and yet no rest. But when you're living from purpose, even the hard days feel sacred. Even the unseen work feels worthwhile, because you know deep down, this matters. Ask yourself, what would I still choose to do, even if no one noticed? What effort would still feel worth it, even if no one clapped? That's where your purpose begins. Epictetus reminds us, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Your life doesn't need to be loud to be meaningful, it just needs to be aligned. You don't need to impress the crowd. You need to be at peace with the person in the mirror. Living with purpose means being willing to disappoint the world in order to honor your soul. It means saying no to what's shiny so you can say yes to what's steady. It means choosing effort over ease when the effort leads you to meaning. It means knowing that a quiet, honest life can be far more powerful than a celebrated one built on performance. Think about a time you sacrificed your peace just to be perceived a certain way. Think about how heavy that felt. Now remember a time you acted from conviction, even if no one saw it, even if it cost you. That lightness, that deep, silent pride, that's what your soul is asking for. Purpose isn't a title or a trophy. It's a truth you carry. It's how you show up. It's how you love, how you work, how you keep going, especially when it's hard. And the beautiful part, purpose doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be yours. Even the smallest action done with integrity becomes a powerful offering. Even a quiet day lived in alignment becomes a monument to your values. And over time, those small, honest choices build a life that doesn't just look good, but feels solid from the inside out. So today, ask yourself, not what should I do to be seen, but what would I do to be real? Not what will impress, but what will fulfill. Because your soul isn't asking for performance. It's asking you to remember who you are, to remember what matters, and to have the courage to live it out without needing anyone's permission. That's purpose, and your soul is craving it. Chapter 3. Your soul craves simplicity, not success. You were told to aim high, to hustle harder, to climb every ladder and measure your life by what you achieve. But no one told you what it might cost. There's a weight that comes with chasing success as the world defines it, a kind of quiet heaviness that grows with each new accomplishment. Not because the goals are wrong, but because the soul was never built for constant striving. It was built for depth, for stillness, for simplicity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." And maybe that's the truth you've been missing. That peace isn't found in bigger paychecks or louder applause. It's found in learning how to need less and love more. The pursuit of success can drown your presence. You wake up with a full to-do list but an empty heart. You check every box but feel further from yourself. Because when your worth depends on external markers, your peace becomes fragile. It shifts with every missed deadline, every lost opportunity, every moment you feel behind. But simplicity invites you back home, back to what is essential, back to a way of living that doesn't exhaust your mind, but nourishes your spirit. Simplicity isn't poverty, it's clarity. It's knowing what to say no to. It's choosing less, not because you're afraid, but because you're finally wise enough to realize you don't need more. You don't need to own more to feel whole. You don't need to be known by many to be deeply fulfilled. You don't need to be everywhere to be aligned. Simplicity asks a different question. What truly matters to you? Not what looks good on paper. Not what others expect. But what makes your soul feel quiet, grounded, alive. The Stoics lived this out. They weren't interested in wealth for its own sake. They prized self-mastery over material success. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men of his time, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." And you feel that, don't you? That craving. That restlessness that says, once I get there, then I'll rest. But you never really arrive, because the line keeps moving. Simplicity is the radical act of stepping off that treadmill. It's not about quitting, it's about aligning. It's about choosing quality over quantity, of time, of relationships, of experience. It's about valuing presence over performance, meaning over metrics. There's a kind of wealth that doesn't show up in your bank account. It shows up in your breath. In the quiet of a morning without rush. In a conversation that isn't hurried. In a day lived on your terms. Not dictated by the noise of the world. And maybe today, your soul is asking for less noise, less rush. Less proving, not because you're giving up, but because you're waking up to something deeper, to a different kind of success, one measured not in outcomes but in integrity, not in speed, but in peace. Simplicity doesn't mean you do nothing. It means every action has meaning. It means you know where your energy is best spent. And you no longer give it away cheaply. When you simplify, you create space for reflection, for gratitude, for joy. You stop running from task to task and begin to move with rhythm, with intention, with soul. So ask yourself right now, what in your life is adding noise, not value? What are you carrying that your soul never asked for? And what would it feel like to finally lay it down? Because your soul doesn't crave the spotlight, it craves lightness. And it will never be satisfied by success if that success costs your peace. Let today be the moment you choose simplicity, not as an escape, but as a return to what matters, to what lasts, to what makes you feel whole. Chapter 4. Your soul craves restraint, not reaction. There's a moment before the impulse, a breath, almost invisible. And in that breath lies your power. You live in a world that demands instant response. Reply now, defend now, react now. And if you don't, you're seen as weak, as indifferent, as distant. But your soul doesn't thrive in chaos. It craves something more rare, more disciplined. It craves restraint. Restraint is not suppression. It is strength held in quiet hands. It is the decision to choose your response rather than become your reaction. And in that choice, you become sovereign over your own mind. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery isn't about being emotionless. It's about being unmoved by what doesn't deserve your energy. It's about knowing when to speak and when silence is the loudest answer. Your soul grows heavy when it's always in fight mode, when every disagreement becomes a battle, when every insult becomes personal, when every opinion demands your rebuttal. That kind of life feels exhausting because it is. You're scattering your power across every comment, every headline, every slight, and slowly you forget that not everything needs a response. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." That's not apathy. That's clarity. That's the ability to say, not this, not now. Not worth it. And how freeing it is to realize you don't have to carry everything you feel. Restraint gives your words weight. When you speak less, what you say matters more. When you pause, your presence becomes more grounded. You're no longer a leaf blown by every wind of emotion. You are rooted. And from that stillness, you move with intention. Think about the last time you reacted quickly, maybe with anger or judgment or defensiveness. Did it bring peace? Or did it fuel more noise? Now think of a moment when you chose not to respond, when you walked away, when you let someone else's chaos pass through you without entering you. Didn't your peace grow in that silence? Restraint is not inaction. It is elevated action. It's the difference between instinct and wisdom. It's a form of dignity. Not because you don't feel strongly, but because you value your inner space too deeply to waste it. Seneca reminds us, "A quarrel is quickly settled when deserted by one party, There is no battle unless there be two. You always have the power to end a war by refusing to fight, by stepping back, by keeping your soul intact. You don't owe anyone your outrage. You don't have to jump into every fire. Some things are best left unanswered. Some people are best left unheard, and some battles are won by walking away. Your soul doesn't need more confrontation. It needs more conservation to conserve your peace, to protect your clarity, to walk gently but powerfully, to remember that restraint is not weakness, it is wisdom clothed in patience. And perhaps the most profound kind of self-respect is this: to choose not to react when everything in you wants to. That is the warrior's path, not the warrior with the loudest voice, but the one who walks through storms without letting the storm inside. You are not what angers you. You are not what provokes you. You are the space before the flame. You are the one who chooses whether it ever ignites. Restraint is the quiet revolution your soul has been craving, not to be passive, but to be precise. Not to suppress, but to stand still until the path is clear. Not to withdraw in fear, but to remain rooted in truth. So the next time you're triggered, pause. Breathe. Remember who you are. You are not here to echo the chaos. You are here to be the calm. Chapter 5. Your soul craves endurance, not escape. There are moments when everything in you wants to run from the noise, from the weight, from the slow heaviness of the days that don't give easy answers. But if you listen closely, not to the anxiety, not to the fear, but to the stillness underneath, it's not escape your soul is craving. It's endurance. Endurance is not about gritting your teeth and pretending you're fine. It's about remaining rooted when life gives you every reason to uproot. It's about holding your ground, not because it's comfortable, but because it's right, because something in you refuses to quit on what matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke. You cannot always control what comes your way, but you can choose not to let it define you." That's what endurance is. It's the quiet strength of staying when escape would be easier. Your soul grows tired, not because you're weak, but because you've been strong for a long time, and you haven't allowed yourself to rest in the storm. You've been trying to outrun what was meant to be faced. But the Stoics didn't run from pain. They trained themselves to stand within it, to undergo life, not just survive it. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body," which means every hardship is not a signal to flee. It's a signal that you're growing, becoming, deepening. Just like muscles need resistance to build strength, your character needs resistance to become unshakable. Escape is seductive. It offers numbness, temporary silence, a scrolling screen, another glass, a new distraction. But every time you choose escape over endurance, you're trading your long-term growth for short-term relief, and your soul knows the difference. You feel it when you lay down at night and something still aches. You weren't born to numb your way through life. You were made to walk through it awake. Endurance isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It doesn't show off. It simply remains. It wakes up again. It shows up again. It takes the next small step forward, even with trembling legs. Think of a mountain. Its strength isn't in its movement. It's in its stillness, in the fact that it doesn't run from the storm. It stands through it. That's what your soul craves. That kind of anchored living. When life feels overwhelming, your instinct may be to withdraw. But pause. Ask yourself, what if the discomfort is shaping me? What if this slow season is preparation? What if the wait isn't punishment, but refinement? A stoic soul knows you don't need to control the storm, you just need to keep your footing in it. Even one breath at a time. Don't underestimate what you're building by simply not giving up. Every day you choose to continue, even when it's hard, you're adding bricks to the foundation of who you are. You're becoming someone you can trust, not someone who escapes, but someone who endures. Your strength isn't measured by how little you feel. It's measured by how deeply you stand in what you feel without being destroyed by it. Let go of the need to get through it fast. That's not endurance. That's impatience wearing a mask. Endurance is slow. It's steady. It says, I'm not where I want to be, but I will not abandon myself in this process. So if you're tired, rest, but do not run. Breathe, recenter, and remind yourself, you've survived every dark day before this one. You're still here, not because it's been easy, but because something in you has always chosen to continue. That is endurance. And it's exactly what your soul has been craving all along. Chapter 6. Your soul craves integrity, not approval. There's a quiet ache that comes from living for the eyes of others. It's the feeling that no matter how many likes, compliments, or nods you collect, something still feels off inside. That's not failure. That's your soul reminding you. You were never meant to live for applause. You were meant to live in alignment. Approval is loud. Integrity is quiet. One draws you outward. The other draws you inward. Approval asks, will they like me? Integrity asks, can I respect myself after this? Only one leads to peace, and it isn't the one that shifts with public opinion. Marcus Aurelius warned, it never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own. Think about that. You live in your own body. You think your own thoughts. You hold your own pain. Yet how often do you betray that inner compass just to fit in, to be seen as successful, nice, agreeable, worthy? But the cost of approval is often the slow erosion of authenticity, and no amount of praise can compensate for the loss of your own voice. Your soul doesn't crave to be popular. It craves to be whole, to live a life that reflects your values, even if no one claps for it, to speak your truth, even if it trembles in your throat, to say no when your boundaries are being crossed, and yes when your purpose is calling. Seneca once said, a good character, when established, is not easily overthrown. That's what integrity builds, something stable inside of you, a home you can come back to. Even when others misread you, even when the crowd walks away, approval is addictive. It rewards you instantly. A laugh, a nod, a heart on a screen. It feels good, but it fades. And you're left with the question, was I honest? Was I myself? Or was I just trying to be liked? Integrity doesn't always feel good in the moment. Sometimes it means disappointing people. Sometimes it means being misunderstood. But it always brings something deeper, peace. Not peace as comfort, but peace as clarity. When you live with integrity, you stop outsourcing your worth. You stop seeking mirrors in the eyes of others. You start trusting your own gaze. You move through life less concerned with what people think about you and more focused on who you are becoming. A story. There's a scene in Marcus Aurelius's Meditations where he reminds himself that people will do and say what they will, but that he must continue doing what's right. He writes, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You don't need to prove, defend, or retaliate. You just need to remain true, to act from virtue, to let your life, not your explanations, be the testimony. Living for approval will exhaust you. You'll shapeshift, you'll water yourself down, and still, it won't be enough. Because people don't see you clearly when you're trying to please them. They see their own expectations, and you lose yourself trying to meet them. But when you choose integrity, something shifts. You walk a little straighter, you breathe a little deeper. Because you're no longer performing, you're simply being. And in that space, your soul softens. Because you've stopped betraying it. You've stopped selling pieces of yourself to earn something that was never yours to chase. You are not here to be universally liked. You are here to be unshakably you, to build a life that makes you proud in the quiet hours, to act with principle, not pressure, to tell the truth even if your voice shakes. Approval is a moving target. Integrity is a rooted tree. Grow your roots deep, because when the storm comes, it's not the prettiest tree that survives. It's the one anchored in something real. So let the world misunderstand you. Let them misjudge your silence, your boundaries, your steadiness, because your soul doesn't need validation. It needs truth, it needs courage, it needs you. Chapter 7. Your soul craves joy that's disciplined. There's a kind of joy that doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It doesn't perform. It rises quietly from within, steady, grounded, enduring, and your soul is craving exactly that. Not joy that is fleeting, shallow, or dependent on good news, but joy that is disciplined, intentional, rooted. Joy is not a reward, it's a practice. The world often sells joy as the aftermath of achievement, when you've finally rested, when the bills are paid, when the goals are met. But Marcus Aurelius knew better. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Stoicism teaches that joy isn't about what happens to you, it's about how you interpret what happens. It's a mindset, not a miracle, and like anything meaningful, it must be cultivated, not chased. Real joy begins in presence, not in the highlight reels or the wish lists, but in the overlooked ordinary. A warm cup of coffee, a moment of stillness before the world wakes up, the breeze against your face during a walk, the sound of your own breath after a long day. These aren't accidents, they're invitations. But you must be disciplined enough to notice them, because the distracted mind skips over what the soul is starved for. And the soul isn't hungry for entertainment. It's hungry for reverence. Discipline isn't the opposite of joy, it's the foundation of it. A disciplined mind is not consumed by comparison. It doesn't waste its energy chasing every whim or numbing every discomfort. It turns inward. It reflects. It listens. It knows that true happiness isn't built on dopamine spikes, but on quiet alignment with your values. Seneca once wrote, "A wise man is content with himself." That kind of contentment isn't arrogance, it's clarity. You stop needing everything to go your way to feel at peace. You begin to carry a joy that no one can take because no one gave it to you. It was grown by effort, by attention, by care. Joy, for the Stoic, is not naive. It doesn't ignore the suffering of the world. It acknowledges it. It carries the weight and still chooses to notice the light. It whispers, even here, even now, something good remains. Let that be your practice. When things are heavy, find one thing worth honoring. Not to deny the pain, but to prove it hasn't consumed you. When the day feels empty, look again. Maybe the joy is not in what changed, but in how you see. Train your eyes to spot the sacred in the simple, because joy doesn't come from excess, it comes from enough. And you begin to realize enough has always been right in front of you. But you were moving too fast to see. This is where joy and discipline meet, in the deliberate slowness of thought, in the refusal to rush through life just to check off boxes, in the pause between tasks, in the breath before reaction. You don't need to wait for everything to be perfect. You don't need to escape to find peace. You need only to return to the small, to the still, to the sacred. Your soul doesn't crave temporary highs. It craves wholeness. And that wholeness comes not from indulging every emotion, but from training your mind to find beauty despite them, to notice, to give thanks, to feel deeply without being overwhelmed. Joy is not the outcome of avoiding pain. It's the reward of walking through it with grace. It's the moment you laugh in the middle of hardship, the breath of peace after a long cry, the deep knowing, I can endure this and still smile. That smile, that soft, quiet, resilient joy is what your soul has been craving all along. So don't chase it. Discipline yourself into it. Choose it daily. Train your awareness and watch your life slowly fill with light. Chapter 8. Your soul craves fire, not for show, but for direction. There's a fire inside you. It's not loud, it's not meant for display, it's not here to impress anyone. But it is real, it is steady, and it is what your soul is desperately craving right now. Not to burn for applause, but to light the way forward. This fire is your inner compass. It's the quiet intensity that lives beneath your surface, the part of you that still believes, even when the world tries to harden you, even when life has disappointed you, even when you've been overlooked, underestimated, or misunderstood. That part of you that refuses to dim. Marcus Aurelius called it the inner citadel, a place within you that no loss can shake, no insult can scorch, no praise can inflate. He wrote, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look." That strength, that fire, is not created by validation. It is forged in silence. In choices no one sees, in quiet defiance against despair. Your soul is not looking for a stage. It's looking for a reason to wake up early when it's easier to sleep, a reason to stay true when you could compromise, a reason to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. The fire is your reason, and like any fire, it must be tended. You don't need more noise. You don't need more attention. You need a flame that keeps burning when no one's watching. A flame that grows through discipline, not drama. Too many people burn out because they burn for the wrong things. They burn for success, for image, for fleeting significance. And when the spotlight fades, they are left empty. But when you burn for truth, when you burn for integrity, for growth, for the person you're becoming, that fire won't consume you. It will guide you. This fire asks for sacrifice. It asks you to say no when it's easier to say yes, to choose courage over comfort, to walk away from what is easy and choose what is right. It's not about aggression. It's not about pushing through blindly. It's about focused, disciplined intensity, the kind of energy that doesn't scatter but concentrates. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." And learning how to live means fueling your fire from within, not relying on external heat to keep you warm, but becoming your own source of conviction. So how do you feed this fire? With honesty, with clarity, with deliberate action. Every time you honor your values when it costs you. Every time you stay silent instead of shouting to be heard. Every time you forgive yourself and begin again. That's another log on the fire. It's built in daily choices. In your morning discipline, in your refusal to numb, in your courage to rest instead of escape, in your willingness to walk into discomfort, not because you love it, but because you know it's shaping you. You're not here to impress the world. You're here to become someone you're proud of when the room is silent and the lights are off. You're here to let the fire clarify, not glorify, to illuminate the next right step, not burn out in pursuit of the next big thing. So let the fire guide you. Not toward perfection, but toward integrity. Not toward applause, but toward alignment. Let it warm your spirit when the world feels cold. Let it burn off what no longer belongs. Let it lead you home, back to the place inside you where clarity lives, where courage breathes, where purpose stands tall. Because your soul doesn't need to be seen. It needs to be rooted, lit from within, burning not with noise but with direction. That is the kind of fire that cannot be extinguished, and it's already inside you, waiting. Ready. Conclusion. Your soul doesn't want more. It wants meaning. It doesn't crave the spotlight. It craves stillness. It doesn't need applause. It needs alignment. In a world constantly trying to pull you in 1,000 directions, this right here is your moment to return. To slow down, to breathe deeply, to remember who you are beneath the noise, beneath the pressure, beneath the performance. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So what thoughts will you choose to nurture? What inner voice will you begin to trust again? Let this be your quiet revolution. Not a chase for perfection, but a return to presence. Not a sprint for recognition, but a steady walk toward your deepest truth. And if this message stirred something in you, if it felt like your soul was seen even for a moment, then this space is for you. Subscribe to the Stoic Philosophy and continue walking this path of depth, discipline, and self-mastery. Here, we don't just talk about wisdom. We live it. One breath, one choice, one step at a time. Your soul has always known the way. Now it's time to follow.